Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me for 30 minutes tonight to just talk about how to de-stress on the fly. Something I'm super excited to talk about. I really love talking about stress management in general, so I'm just really excited to be here, and thank you so much for being here with me. Before we get started, I just wanted to make a few quick notes about the webinar. First of all, if you have to leave at any point or you just can't stay the whole time, this will be available on my YouTube channel later on, so you will get to watch it again if you would like. Also, if you notice, just on the upper right part of your screen, there's a little box grid there. And if you click on that, you'll see a Q&A and a showcase. So if you have any questions about what I'm talking about tonight, or just general questions for me, feel free to write in that Q&A box at any point, and I'll answer all the questions at the end of the webinar. And also in the showcase box, I'm trying to get comfortable here. In the showcase box, you'll find some information and links to some resources that I talk about later on. So those are there for you to use. And let me see, I think that's pretty much, oh, one more thing. Earlier when I was testing this out, the webinar went blank at one point. So it happens, I know, technology, but if that happens during this broadcast, all you need to do is just leave the screen as it is, and I will get it back up and running, and it will just start again. So I figured that out when I was trying it earlier. Can't always count on technology, I guess, but we'll see. Hopefully it doesn't happen and everything's good to go. So that's some basic housekeeping for you. What I'd like to do now is kind of just introduce myself for those that don't really know a lot about me. So my name is Jamie Molnar, and I help smart, successful women learn how to manage their stress and create more balanced and fulfilling lives. I'm a licensed psychotherapist. I'm also a registered yoga teacher, and I'm also a wellness coach. So I have a lot of tips and tools to share, and I'm really passionate about helping women learn how to overcome stress. I also think that women tend to put a lot of pressure on themselves. We kind of have these unattainable expectations that we put on ourselves, but that also is put on us from society, from the media, and I really want to help women learn how to break free from those really high expectations, that feeling that like you're never good enough, you're not thin enough, you're not successful enough, you're not busy enough, you don't have enough friends. It's always about not enough, and I feel like that message is out there a lot. So I really believe that stress management has a lot to do with letting go of that really unhealthy mindset and being okay with where you are at in that moment. And so I teach a lot about how to understand that never enough feeling, like where does that come from? How often do you do it to yourself? And why? And then teach you tools on how to overcome that and learn how to be more confident and feel more at ease and feel just happier, just live a happier, more fulfilling life. Because I really want every woman to be able to enjoy her life to the fullest, because it is such a short life, and don't we deserve at least that? Okay, so how did I get here? How did I decide that this is what I want to do and this is what I want to talk about? Well, that's a story in itself. But I'm happy to share it because I really feel that my story is my purpose. And it's how I really realized that this is what I wanted to do, that I really wanted to help other women learn how to manage stress and just kind of feel calmer and happier. So I am a recent cancer survivor. At age 29, at age 29, about a year, I'd been feeling really fatigued and these weird pains in my body that the doctors couldn't really figure out what was going on. And that was from 28 to 29. And then 29, sure enough, I ended up in the hospital just with a doozy of pneumonia and was diagnosed stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so that was like a real curveball that threw my whole life off track, especially as a single young professional woman. It was a really traumatic experience, and it really took me a while to kind of make sense of it. It really threw a lot of things off for me. I'm approaching 6 years in January, so I am in remission now, yay. And I'll be honest, I'm not perfect yet. I'm still dealing with some like residual health issues, and I'm still not completely over the trauma of everything I went through. But I've learned so many amazing life lessons along the way, and I just feel like a totally different person, and in a good way. And I really want to share that experience with other women. I want other women to learn how to kind of understand themselves better so they don't have to go through what I went through. I don't want anyone to have to experience what I went through. So before cancer, I'll admit, I was a total stress head. Most people probably didn't know that because I presented as pretty calm and chill most of the time. And that I am that in some ways, but I was also very anxious inside, very, very anxious. I never felt good enough, ever. And so I use stress as a way to kind of motivate me and kind of keep me on that overachieving, always trying to be better track. And that's not healthy. And I don't believe that caused my cancer, but I do believe it contributed significantly to my body not being able to manage stress and possible infection and potential health problems. So stress was totally my drug for a long time. It kind of fed my overachieving, nothing is ever good enough mindset. And to be honest, cancer pretty much stopped me totally in my tracks and made me take a cold, hard look at how I was living my life. So since then, it's been a long journey into health and wellness. And as I said before, I've learned so much along the way, and I feel so much better in so many ways. I feel like I've learned so much. I feel like I've achieved so much, and I feel like a different person, and it's amazing. And I have a lot to share. I really learned how to nourish my body. I learned how to calm my mind, which is huge because I did not know how to do that before. And I learned how to soothe my soul. And those are 3 core elements in a lot of the stress management work that I do, because I really believe in the mind, body, spirit connection. And I think it's important to really be in tune with all 3 aspects of your being. So through this journey, I've experimented with acupuncture, with coaching, counseling, triathlons. I mean, if it's in health and wellness, I've done it. I've done every sort of diet you can think of, every sort of supplement, everything. And so again, lots to share along my way. And I feel like I'm just bursting at the seams with information, and I just really want to share all of that with other women. So that kind of precipitated tonight's talk, because I thought, hey, you know, what would be better than just starting to share some simple ways that other women can learn to start calming themselves and feel better throughout the day, and manage that overwhelm that we all feel. So if any of my story resonates with you, if you feel like you tend to be a stress head, if you feel like you're overwhelmed a lot of the time, if you feel like you're not enough, or you get down on yourself very easily, maybe you're just an uber stress type and you just want some tips on how to manage it, this is the perfect place for you. And I really hope that, I really think that you will get some benefit out of what I have to say tonight. And there's also the beginner stress management packet that I sent out. So maybe you filled that out and realized, oh, I really need to get a handle on my stress. So for whatever purpose brought you here tonight, thank you so much for joining. And I know that these tips will really help you. So let's start talking about the 3 ways that I de-stress on the fly. These 3 tips I use consistently on a daily basis throughout the day to manage my stress and overwhelm. And if I don't, I really notice a difference. I'm not feeling as well. I don't have as much energy, and things are just not going as well. So these 3 tips are things that I do every day, and I really believe in these practices, and that's why I want to share them with you tonight. The first tip, so tip number 1, is find your breath. So the breath is probably one of the most important elements of self-care. I never really realized how important the breath was until I started doing yoga and I started really paying attention to my breath and how much it makes a difference in how I feel. And now it's really become a part of my daily life. So when you get stressed, you tend to breathe a very shallow breath. And so very little oxygen actually gets into the lower part of your chest. And this causes a lack of oxygen to blood vessels, which can cause a strain on your heart and lungs. It also stimulates the stress response in the body. So I'm sure you've heard of the fight or flight response, that response you get to stress, where it's either you're going to run away or you're going to fight the issue, right? So if you have a car coming at you, that immediate response is to either get out of the way or fight the car, which obviously we're going to get out of the way because we're not going to win a fight with the car. So that stress response happens, you behave accordingly, and then the stress response dies down in the body. But the problem is when we are stressed by internal stimulus, like thoughts and emotions and things we need to do tomorrow, we tend to be in that state all the time. So your body is in that fight or flight response all the time. So when you're breathing really shallow all the time, you're not getting enough oxygen to the body, and you're not helping your body calm itself and break that cycle. So that's why breathing deep is so important, and breathing properly is so important. So when you notice that you're starting to get anxious or agitated, that's when you really want to take a look at your breath and see how it's going. Is it really shallow? Are you almost hyperventilating? What does it feel like? I know that I really feel it in my chest. I can feel it when I'm not breathing properly, and I have to make a concerted effort to breathe more and more deeply. So regular breathing practice is essential for good health. And there's a whole host of reasons. I mean, science shows that breathing can provide more energy, more endurance. It brings more oxygen flow to the body. It helps improve your sleep. It increases vitality, increased feelings of well-being and happiness, better concentration too. Really helps you concentrate better. So there's so many benefits from breathing, and yet most of us don't even think about it or don't do it properly. And that's why finding your breath is my number 1 tip for crushing overwhelm and managing stress when you feel it coming on. Really important to take a moment, notice how you're breathing, and really notice how helpful or unhelpful your breathing is. So in terms of breathing, I do have a practice for you that I think will be very helpful, especially if you're a beginner to understanding the breath and how to really pay attention to your breath. So if you check out the showcase, you'll see a link to my page. I'm going to scroll down right now, actually, so I can read it to you. It's in What is Yoga Part 4. So use your breath in yoga. And there's an audio clip on that page that you can play anytime, and it's an awesome audio clip. I recorded it myself because it's a breath practice that I really enjoy, and again, I want other women to be able to use it. So all you have to do is hit play, and I will guide you through how to do a breathing practice. So that is in the showcase. All you have to do is click on that link. It'll take you directly to that page, and you just hit play and you've got your breathing practice covered. So I recommend that people do a breathing practice regularly every day, whether they're stressed or not, because it's really good for you. But if you're not quite there, that's okay. Try doing this breathing practice when you're starting to feel that stress come on, when you're starting to feel the overwhelm come on. Try this out. Give it a moment. It's only about 3 minutes long, so it's a very quick little breathing practice, but it is really, really beneficial and quite powerful, even though it's so short. So tip 1, find your breath. I've given you a link to a breathing practice, so all you have to do is hit play and give it a go. Okay, step 2. My number 2 tip for managing overwhelm and managing your stress is to walk away. And again, this also sounds very simple, but I can't tell you how many times that I'm sitting there on the computer ready to scream and throw the thing across the floor, and it would make much more sense for me to just get up and take a moment and calm myself. So that is what I do, and I do that a lot during the day because I actually have a pretty high stress job, and I'm dealing with mental health crises and threat assessment, and that's a lot, and there's a lot coming at me. So it's really important for me to really take care of myself. And the minute I start feeling that chest tightness, that I feel it in my back, in my hips, that's where a lot of my stress goes. I can actually feel my hips tightening up. Then I know I need to just get up and walk away. And that can include walking around outside just to get some fresh air for a couple of minutes. Sometimes I'll just stand up and walk around the room. A lot of times I'll go and make a cup of tea and just kind of put some honey in it and just sip it for a minute before I go back to the computer. So those are the 2 things that I do the most when I need to walk away. I either go get a cup of tea or I go for a walk. Sometimes though, what also helps is to call someone, call a friend, phone a friend, right? And just see if they're willing to listen to you vent for a second. Get it out, talk about it. All these steps only take a minute or 2, but they will really impact your day if you're doing them consistently. So don't just sit at the computer allowing all that stress to build. Walk away for a second, give it a second. It's still going to be there when you come back, so there's no point in getting completely overwhelmed by whatever the situation is. You deserve a minute or 2 to find your breath, go for a walk, get some tea, and just really take care of yourself. Okay. So, number 1 was finding your breath, and number 2 was walking away. So the number 3 tip that I have tonight also kind of feeds into number 2. And number 3 is stretching it out. And again, I know all 3 of these sound super simple and super obvious. And it's like, Jamie, I know I've heard stretch, breathe, walk all the time. But the question is, are you actually doing it? And when you are doing it, are you doing it effectively and consistently? So anyone can tell you to just stretch out, but are you actually doing that a couple times a day when you feel that tightness in your shoulders? Or do you just think about it and then never do it? So I know all these 3 tasks sound really simple, but they're actually really important, and they're really beneficial when you do it consistently to manage your stress. So again, number 3 is stretch it out. So I want you to think back too. When was the last time that you actually stretched? And I'm not talking about a whole yoga session for an hour, that you did a month ago or a week ago or even a day ago. I'm talking about when you're sitting at that computer or you're on the phone and you feel that hunch in your shoulders where you know that you're just kind of doing that hunch back over the computer. How often do you actually take a break and stand up and stretch out your shoulders and your back? It really drives me crazy because I do sit all day, and that comes with my job. I'm on the computer a lot, I'm on the phone a lot, and I'm talking to clients a lot, and I sit while I'm doing that. And our bodies are not designed to sit like that all day, and it's so uncomfortable. And it just makes your body crunch up. I can feel it. I can feel it in my hips. Again, just like I said earlier, I really feel it in my hips. I can feel the tightness, and it's almost painful. So I very frequently throughout the day will stand up and do stretches, or I'll do stretches in the chair too, because I really believe in opening the body up, getting out of that seated posture, opening your hips, and allowing the blood to flow. And that'll make a big difference too in how you're feeling. Just think about how you feel when you're really crunched up and you're really tight and everything's constricted, as compared to when you're open and your shoulders are back and you're standing tall. There's such a difference in that, and it only takes a few minutes to make that happen, and it's so powerful in how you feel. So this is another tip that I have included in the showcase. I'm going to scroll down and check it out right now so I can read it to you. So in this showcase, it's called Take 5 to Energize. And it's actually from a corporate wellness site in Canada. But I love what they have there because it's specifically for people in the corporate setting that are sitting at their desk and they're feeling the stress and they're feeling the tension in their body. So this website has some awesome pictures and explanations for a variety of poses that I actually do myself. And that's why I really like this website, because I do all of these consistently throughout the day. And this website pretty much sums it up in all these pictures. So that's the website that I would recommend. You can click on it and it's very easy to follow. And that gives you lots of information on how to stretch out from your sitting. Okay, so just to summarize, the first step in managing your overwhelm and your stress is to find your breath. Like I said before, the breath is key to health and vitality, and learning how to breathe properly will make such a difference in how you feel on a daily basis. This showcase has a link. It has an audio that all you need to do is click, and you'll get a great breathing practice that you can do regularly. Really focus on nice deep breaths in and out of the nose, and you will see how much that helps you when you're starting to feel that overwhelm at your desk or at home or wherever you are. Number 2, walk away. I'm a big believer in this. Walking away from a stressful situation. Earlier tonight, I was fighting the computer trying to test my webinar. I almost lost it. So I took the dog for a walk because I needed to walk away because it was stressing me out to no end, and I knew that I just had to get away from it for a minute. So, and I came back a little calmer and ready to go again. So walking away from a situation can really help you feel better. It helps calm your system, and it helps you crush that overwhelm before it becomes too much. Just a side note, I really believe this is important in relationships too. And again, we're not all perfect. Sometimes we say things we don't mean. Sometimes we get in fights. But if you can learn to walk away before it gets to that point, it'll make a huge difference in how you feel and how your relationship goes as well. And then number 3 is stretch it out. So again, in the showcase, there's a link for that, Take 5 to Energize. I really love that website because it has all the stretches that I do on a daily basis when I'm sitting at the computer and I'm getting all hunchy. So I really recommend trying those. One of my favorites is the cat-cow. You can do that in a chair, and it's really good for your back and for your abdomen to open it up. So stretching it out, taking a moment to just stretch and release the stress from your body before you continue on in your day will make a huge difference. So that pretty much sums it up. Those are my 3 best kept secrets for de-stressing on the fly. They're simple, they're easy, and they're very, very powerful. And that's why I love sharing these tips, because anyone can do them anywhere, and they'll make a huge difference in your life if you start doing them consistently throughout your day. So those are my tips. I'm just going to check the questions real quick to see if anyone had any questions for me. Let's see. The Q&A, let's see. Okay. So So one of the questions was, do you have any specific stretches that you recommend? And there you go. In that website, all the stretches that I would recommend sitting at the desk would definitely be what I think would be most helpful when you really need a quick stretch. And again, those, you don't need to get out of your chair, you don't need to change your clothes, it's nothing fancy, but it's easy and it's doable, and that's what is important. Okay, another question. I love these 3 steps. What would you recommend if stress is really bad and those 3 steps don't work? Well, yeah, I know. Stress can be, sometimes these simple things don't work. I think it really depends on what the stress is and how bad it is. So if you feel like your stress is beyond the point of return and simple steps like these are not going to help, that's when we start looking at taking a day to yourself, taking a half day, looking at longer term solutions for getting healthy. So these tips are really meant for when you feel the stress coming. If you feel like you're past that point, then these may not help as much, but they can still help. And I think that if your stress is really bad, the breathing would be my number one. My breathing is key to managing stress. And then also starting to look at taking a half day or a couple of hours to get a break, or eating out away from the office, something like that, something more longer term that takes longer than just a couple minutes. But having said that, again, I really believe that the breathing is essential. Even when the stress is really bad and you feel like you just can't come back from it, try the breath work. Really, I really believe that if you do that consistently, even when it's really bad, take a moment away from the situation and focus on your breath, it will help. It really will make a big difference. So again, my recommendation, if you feel that these 3 steps don't work, try the breathing. If not, then you may have to look at stepping away for a couple of hours, going to get a coffee, going to get lunch, taking a half day, whatever you have to do. You have to take care of yourself in order to be a healthy and successful individual. So take the steps that you need, take the time that you need, do what you need to do so that you can be healthy and vital and happy, because that's really all that matters at the end of the day. Okay, I think that's it, and we're right at 28 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and close up for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you made it. And if you didn't make it and you're watching this later on, thanks so much for watching it, and I hope these tips really help you. You can find me at my website, jamiemolnar.com. I have tons more resources on there. You can join my email list where I provide resources to my email list as well. And I have more webinars and challenges coming up. So in October, there will be a yoga beginners challenge that I'll be doing. And then in November, there'll be another webinar about how I start my day every day to have a kick-ass day. So again, thanks so much. You'll find all this information on my website, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Bye.